Hello and welcome to Talk Ag to Me, the podcast dedicated to improving ag literacy around the globe. I'm your host, Brandon Black, and today's episode is the season finale for Season 4, otherwise known as our All-Star Season. I'd like to thank all of you so much for supporting this podcast over the past 4 years, and for sticking with us through all of these seasons and growing pains. I know that over the past 4 years, this podcast has seen a lot of different changes, and I want to go through some of those real quick and talk a little bit about what the future of Talk Ag to Me is going to look like. So, with our first season, the podcast's original idea was to be a platform that agriculturalists could be comfortable sharing their information on, and that information would be then provided to the public. That kind of is how it started out, and it's transformed over time, because I realized after 2 years of doing that, I wasn't quite reaching the audience I wanted to reach. And so I switched my priorities and started reaching out to the general public, people who didn't come from agricultural backgrounds, people who had questions about where their food came from, and I began to interview those people and have them ask me questions and be able to have ongoing conversations with them about how their food is grown. And that went really well. That saw major increases in popularity among the podcast episodes. It saw a lot more engagement with the audience that I was trying to reach. And overall, it was just a really beneficial thing for the podcast in general. Now, moving into season 3, I tried to take it a bit more seriously and tried to interview certain people about certain topics. Didn't quite go the way I was hoping it would go. I tried doing a mini-series, and that kind of fell into pieces. Overall, the season was good. I had some really good episodes in Season 3, but it just didn't quite stick like Season 2 did. And so I decided to take a step back and completely bulk record all of Season 4 and just let it upload while I was finishing up this last semester of school. And so I decided to work on that and make sure that that was my top priority at the time. And I decided to go with the All-Star season, bringing back all of our older guests, or not all, but some of our more popular older guests, because those conversations were the ones that gave me not only enjoyable content, but also it reminded me about why I was doing the podcast in the first place and how much I really enjoyed talking to those people about agriculture and getting their opinions on what's going on in the podcasting realm as well as the food and fiber realm. And so that was the main motivation behind Season 4. It was kind of like a reboot, get us back into the mojo of what Talk Ag to Me has been all about all this time, and to kind of set the stage for what's to come. So, that being said, starting in August, Season 5 of Talk Ag to Me is going to begin. Now, it's not going to be as short as Season 4 was. It's not going to be just a 14-episode, 6-month-long season. It's going to be a bit longer. In fact, I'm actually going to try to keep Season 5 going for as long as I can. I don't plan on doing a whole lot more mini seasons or different themed seasons. I have some ideas for episodes that I want to do that kind of follow a theme, and so I might try to do another mini series. Hopefully this one will be a bit more planned out than the last one was. But the main idea behind Season 5 is to go back to my roots and go back to interviewing people involved in agriculture, people at the higher end levels of the industry, getting questions answered that I have, not just those in the audience, and also connecting with people who don't come from agricultural backgrounds, but are going to provide a bit more of a integral conversation to the entire industry and basically to this entire podcast. So it's not so much that I'm trying to avoid contacting smaller producers or smaller content creators, and I'm not bringing them on anymore. It's not about that. I do still plan on bringing on smaller creators whenever I can. But for the first, few episodes, I really want to focus on ag education. So teachers, those involved in FFA and 4-H, and a lot of what's going on the ag education and ag literacy side of things. I want to transition into more industry-based stuff, so talk to people who are actually involved in agricultural production and answer any questions that the audience has that they can answer, and also ask my own questions based off of what the audience and what people who have been on the podcast have been asking me. So kind of reconnect that bridge from the producer back to the consumer. And then after that, I'd like to transition into a bit more of a loose format, kind of like how we had it when we first started the podcast, although it's going to be a lot more effort-based. So it's not going to be, just kind of doing whatever feels right or just kind of bulk recording and then being done and then not putting any more effort into it. If Talk Ag to Me is going to grow in the ways that I think it could and serve the roles that I think it can serve in terms of agricultural communication, it's going to need a bit more effort and love and attention from me, from the audience, from any supporting members I can see. Everything that I have is going to go into this podcast as much as I can put it into it. I started this podcast with the intention of creating a bridge of communication between the agricultural world and the consumer world. I started this podcast with the intention of giving those in the agricultural realm a more comfortable platform to share their information. And most importantly, I started this podcast as a way for myself to learn more about the agriculture industry and how to more effectively communicate it to the general public. Going back through my old episodes, I've learned that I've done a pretty good job of staying true to that message, but there are still some things that I've started to lack on. And I think that the quality of the podcast has gone down slightly because of that. I still think the podcast is doing a great job. I still think that it's something that I want to do for as long as I possibly can. It's just something that's going to need to go through one final change for a little while. That's not to say it's never going to change again. I might get a year into season 5 and realize, no, this isn't the right idea. Let me switch it up again. But for right now, the plan is to stick with season 5 as the quote-unquote longest or final season. That's going to be kind of going back to the less season-based and more just episodical-based format, and then just sticking to that for as long as I can just to see how that rides out. But on top of that, it's going to be a lot more focused on the conversations, on the types of content I want to produce, on the messages I want to get across, on the aspects of the industry I want to get covered, and on the people that I want to reach. So through that, it's going to be more than just the Talk Ag to Me podcast episodes. I'm going to do a lot more video-based stuff on YouTube. I'm going to be putting in a lot of work into projects around video. I have a blog available on talkagtome.com that I recently started. I'm going to be putting as much effort as I physically can into that blog. I actually have some ag communication students at Fresno State and some other colleges that I'm going to be working with, hoping to get some more information on that blog and more of a community building on that blog. I'm really hoping to get some more engagement just in the community of Talk Ag to Me in general. I'm hoping to get a bit more of a team expanded onto here, so it's not just me running this thing anymore. I've come to realize that how I've been running Talk Ag to Me is just not enough to get it off the ground to where I need it to be. And not for the sake of, having high numbers or for the sake of making money or for the sake of being a famous podcast. All of this is for the intention of agricultural literacy, of agriculture education, of engaging healthy and productive conversations, and of informing the world, both those in agriculture and those that are not in agriculture, about what's going on both ends. Those who are not in agriculture have a lot to learn about what's going on in the industry, although not as much as I initially thought, and those in the industry have a lot to learn about their consumers. And so I think that there's a lot of potential episodes out there that are still needing to be done. There's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. There's still a lot of voices that need to be heard. And so I still fully intend on delivering on that message. I still commit to that mission that I gave myself 4 years ago when I started this podcast with Abby and Evan, that this is going to be the most effective agricultural communication platform I can make it. Now, it's not to say it's going to be the best in the world. There's definitely going to be better ones, and I'm glad that there's going to be better ones. This is just trying to serve as a catalyst to get conversations growing in areas that other podcasts are not reaching. And if it can do that, I've done my job. So this is going to be a shorter episode here. This is basically just a season finale to say thank you all so much for all of your support over the past 4 years, and I hope that you stick with us as we go into this next era of agriculture, of Talk Ag to Me, and I can't really give you a good model for what it's going to look like. I gave you the model that we already talked about. It's going to go from ag ed into more ag industry stuff, into more connection to the consumer stuff, and then it's just going to be a bit more free flow after that. But I can tell you that none of this would be possible without your support. If I was getting 0 views on this podcast, I might still be doing it, but the effort would be going lower and lower and lower until eventually there was none. I love doing this podcast. I love being involved in this project. I love talking to all the people who have listened to it and hearing all their thoughts on the different things that we talk about in these episodes. It makes me so excited to hear people actually engage with this information and really use this as a resource to learn more about where their food comes from. And not just that, but share with others. Hearing people like Braden from Absolutely Gobsmacked say that his brother listens to this podcast is such a really, really interesting and cool thing to hear. And it makes me feel like I'm not wasting my time here. Like I mentioned, I've enjoyed the conversations that I've had over the past 4 years. I've learned a ton through this podcast, and I hope to learn way, way more. And all of this is going to go back into me becoming a better ag teacher. Everything that I do on this podcast is to help me become a better ag communicator and an ag educator for future generations of agricultural leaders and just future consumers. But that doesn't mean that we can't work hard to help the consumers, the communicators, the leaders, and the producers of our current age. And that's where I think that this podcast has the chance to really shine and really grow with the help of some others. So I fully intend on reaching out to any and all resources that I have, agricultural, non-agricultural, podcast, non-podcast, anything that has helped me in the past and will continue to help me in the future is going to work together to help this thing get as big and as strong as it can. Because the only way that agriculture is going to prevail over all of the issues that we've talked about a million times on this podcast, regulations, voting on legislation that hurts agriculture, activism that actively opposes agriculture, environmental disputes, everything that goes into agricultural production. The only way that this industry is going to survive is if we have more effective communication. If we can have conversations revolving around the importance of agriculture, the importance of growing food, and why everyone should support this industry, not to say it's perfect, I've never claimed it's perfect, but to not support the thing that's feeding you, it just doesn't make sense to me. And after all the conversations that I've had, I've heard some very valid arguments for not supporting agriculture, but not a single one has convinced me that it's not an industry worth supporting. And in fact, I think we've changed some minds on this podcast. I think we've had some people come on that maybe were not super supportive of agriculture, but after we talked for a while, they've begun to realize it's a lot more than what social media may let on. So that being said, I don't have much more. Once again, I'd just like to thank all of you so much for your unwavering support. The future of Talk Ag to Me is bright, and that much I have faith in. So I just thank you all again for all of your support. I sound like a broken record, but I really don't care. I hope to see you in the next season of Talk Ag to Me, in the next era of Talk Ag to Me. I hope that all of you continue having conversations and productively discuss the future of the food and fiber system. Whether you're involved in agricultural production, which if you are, thank you, or if you're a consumer, which you're just as important. I thank you for sticking with us for the past 4 years, for continuing to provide your support and your energy and your love and your passion into this project. And if you have any suggestions, if you have any ideas, if you have anything to give, by all means, this is supposed to be a community. This is for all of us. Please let me know what I can do to help, or what you would like to do to help. I'm always looking for more hands on deck. But that's all I have for you, so thank you all so much once again. I will catch you in Season 5 in August. And don't forget, if you ate today, thank a farmer.